Hello, Bruce.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm Santiago. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Yeah, well, we're here at the StreamYard. We're gonna
Okay,
get this thing started.
let's
So
do it.
have it up and post it on all our social medias or YouTube.
Sure.
So for our viewers to see. So I'm pretty sure I'm live now, so that's good to know. And what we have here, you from, if I'm correct, Rarefied Air? Is that what
Yeah,
it is?
that's it. Rarefied
Okay,
air
so
environmental.
So let's get started with you telling us a little bit about you and about what you do.
Sure, sure. So I own the company called Rarefied Air Environmental. We're a testing company.
Okay.
So I like to say we help close escrows for you guys. So
Okay.
I'm at 125,000 surveys since we started many years ago.
Okay.
And we test for asbestos, lead, mold, bacteria, thousands of different elements, soot, char, ash, methamphetamine, fentanyl, particulates in the home, all these things that people in escrow complain about at the last
Yeah.
minute. So that's kind of what we do. I own my own laboratory, one of the only ones in the state of California that does, so I can process all the samples.
Okay.
I opened that up during COVID a couple of years ago. It's really great to have it because if you need something in 1 hour, I can do it in 1 hour. None of this 1 week or 48 hours. I can do
Yeah.
it in an hour. So
Okay.
when somebody calls me and they say, "Hey, you know what? I have a mold problem,"
Yeah.
which is seems to be the worst thing in real estate,
Yeah.
which is not the worst thing, but people make it it's like the worst thing. So
Yeah.
like I can get there same day, I can get the results back same day. So if you call me and say, Bruce, the contingency period is down to 2 days,
Yeah.
or
You
a day, I can usually come in under the wire and get it done for you. So
okay.
that's kind of the cornerstone of my company. I'm super quick. I own my own laboratory. My daughter runs it. So, it's something that I do have connections with and I can get stuff done really quick. Um, I like to help people close the escrows. So when we get a mold problem, I'm just using mold as an example because it's in
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
80% of the
Yeah.
testing, right? Is
Yeah.
mold. And I write a scope every time, and you're going to get that scope. It's going to tell you how to clean it up and get rid of the mold. You can take it to your favorite restoration mold remediation company, or I can give you 3 referrals. I don't care, the best ones that I've ever seen.
You don't do any
I
restoration.
don't do any remediation. I'm just a third party testing company.
I see.
And
Okay.
that's a great question. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for asking that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't do the remediation. I'll refer people out if you need them. For people I've referred out over the last 30 years that do a fantastic job, the homeowners come back, they tell me, hey, they were inexpensive compared to other people and they
Yeah.
did the job quickly. And but at least you can get a price from a qualified mold remediation company, and then in escrow, you can finagle a way to get it closed immediately.
Mhm.
And who's going to pay? That's up, of course, to you guys.
Yeah.
And we get it closed quick. We go on to the next job. I just like to get it done, go on
Yeah.
to the next job. That's
I
my
see.
mantra.
Okay. And where's your office located?
So my laboratory is located on Ruffin Road and Arrow Drive,
Okay.
and all my offices are across the street from my laboratory. So I'm in the Ruffin Business Center, and there are those six mid-rise buildings that you see off of I-15. I take a whole floor for the laboratory. Unfortunately, they didn't have any room to expand it, so I had to go across the street to open up a bunch more offices for customer support, collections, things like that.
Mhm.
The girls that actually do the administrative work, booking the jobs and stuff. So I'm basically at the corner of Arrow Drive and Ruffin Road. But we
Okay.
cover all of San Diego County, everywhere, and Inland Empire up to Lake Elsinore. So
Yeah.
that's kind of our area that we stick in. So we can usually get there quick. We're open Monday through Saturday, and we can usually get to the job same day. If you call me by noon, 2 o'clock, a lot of times I'll have one or two openings late in the afternoon around 4 p.m.
Okay.
and I can get there. We work from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday
Okay.
through Friday and 7 a.m. to 12 noon on Saturday. So we got
Okay.
pretty good coverage.
Yeah.
And, if a realtor ever has a question, heck, just call me.
Yeah.
I answer my phone 7 days a week,
Yeah.
18 hours a day, probably. So,
Okay.
I'm going to have an answer for you. No stupid mistakes. Call me. Like I do testing, obviously, for 3,800 HOAs, over
Okay.
350,000 apartment units. I do testing for all the largest property management companies in the city. I do
Mhm.
testing for, colleges, universities,
Okay.
um, school districts,
Yeah.
hospitals. I do all the work on the air handlers and
Mhm.
infectious disease control. So I'm not just realtors, obviously. I have a much larger
Yeah.
company. I have
Mhm.
39 employees, including the laboratory. So I'm kind of like, on it. Am I expensive? No. Mold starts $395.
Okay.
Asbestos test, $395.
Okay.
Lead test, $245.
Yeah.
Lead is a lot. I get a lot of questions on lead also.
Yeah.
Can you test lead? How fast can you get it back? Because it's an escrow. Well, I get it on site.
Yeah. Okay.
Illicit drugs. Oh, meth, fentanyl. I get it on site. So those are
Okay.
the things I can do for you that are lightning quick. They're on site results.
That's
Bacteria takes 24 hours because I have to put it in an incubator and incubate it. So, somebody's toilet overflows or somebody's got a problem and they feel the house needs testing for bacteria. I can get immediate results with a hygiena machine that they use in hospitals, but it needs confirmation swabs. So, in order to tell you how bad it is, whether there's E. coli present, then I have to run a swab for 24 hours in my laboratory.
okay. Okay.
So I test for soot, char, ash if somebody has a fire. I test for particulates, and I test for 33 different particulates per cassette sample. And a lot of homeowners, before they buy lead and water, especially in Rancho Santa Fe, they're going to have us testing for 10 different things in the
Yeah.
ranch. Oh, there's lead and water. I try to tell them there's no lead pipes in Southern California.
Yeah.
You're thinking about Flint, Michigan. But if you want me to test,
It can be
you
done.
know, radon for, people that have underground, floors in the split level. Like there's no radon in San Diego, but
Yeah.
tell people, but that doesn't stop them from asking for a test. Some people are just real careful. Some people we got to be careful with because they have issues, medical issues.
Yeah.
So they're really interested in buying a home, but they want to make sure that home is safe, past what CREA or the California real estate inspectors do. And a lot of times they'll call us up or we'll get a referral from CREA. And people really want to dig a lot deeper. And as environmental consultants, we're here to dig deeper.
Okay. Okay. And a quick question that I had,
Yeah.
for an agent that goes into a property,
Okay.
what would be like the first thing? Because agents usually do an inspection themselves, like a quick
Right.
little.
They look around.
What is something that an agent should be looking out for when you're looking at, maybe
So, you
all this?
know, yeah, if I was an agent, of which I'm not, but if I was, I'd be looking out for mold, seeing mold cultures growing. Now, remember, mold and is not always like in a shower. A lot of times it's mildew. Mildew is caused by a bacteria, soap scum, and things like that. And it doesn't go airborne, so it doesn't hurt your health. You don't breathe it in, and it doesn't hurt your lungs. So
Mhm.
always know that mildew is one thing that can just be with good cleaning in the house can be taken care of. I would be looking for acoustical sealing. You guys call it popcorn sealing.
Yeah.
A lot of times, 99.9% of the time, acoustical sealing has asbestos in it. You want to be weary of that because you may want them to have me come out and test for asbestos. At least the new homeowner is going to know what it's going to cost if they need to remove that acoustical ceiling. I can get them 3 or 4 bids from abatement companies that can come in and remove the acoustic popcorn ceiling. You want to be very careful of laminated floors like from the asbestos was used in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s in single family homes and condominiums in Southern California. So you want to be really cognizant of vinyl flooring, slip vinyl, and 9x9 and 12x12 uh, flooring with speckles in it. It's always you used to buy it at the Home Depot or Handyman years ago. And that flooring a lot of times has a ton of asbestos in it, and so does the black mastic that they use to glue it down. Um, Also in houses, when you start to see that, you got to think, well, maybe the walls have a drywall joint compound and texture coating,
Yeah.
and that has sometimes a lot of asbestos in it. So that means if the homeowner over the years wants to do, let's say, a renovation, you can't disturb the materials. 37,000 people a year die of mesothelioma. You know that. You see it endlessly on late night TV, Goldwater and Goldwater, the Meso book. That's because the manufacturers of asbestos set aside in a lawsuit $50 billion to take care of people that die. So once you get mesothelioma, it's only caused by one thing, and it's caused by exposure to asbestos. So you don't want to disturb any walls or any flooring or anything like that. And again, the 50s through the 80s, that's when most of the asbestos was used. It was required by the building department, and they made contractors use it so fires didn't go from room to room. So they didn't realize it killed you, but they recommended it in those years.
Yeah.
Also, if you have, let's say, like a a uh, a floor that is, made of wood, and you've got a crawl space, make sure realtors look at those crawl spaces. A lot of times those crawl spaces may have water down below,
Yeah.
and when it has water, that adds a real whole nother layer of problems, a lot of times with wood rot or mold. So they kind of want to take a flashlight, look underneath. The house was built in the 40s, early 50s, 30s, 20s. You need to look at the crawl space. That's something that you guys should be really cognizant about as a realtor. You want to look in the ceiling, look in the see the HVAC system. Just quickly look. If you kind of see the HVAC system, especially 50s, 60s, and early 70s, a lot of times the boot duct and the insulation used around the pipes has a ton of asbestos in it. You go out to, homes in Claremont or South Bay, or even some North County old homes, Carlsbad, and you'll see a white pipe, and it looks almost like it's made of clay, and it comes out of the water heater, and it goes up through almost every realtor, they nod their head like, oh yeah, I've seen that. And that's pure asbestos. That's 100% pure asbestos. That's called transite pipe, and that's very, very dangerous. So we always tell you, have a plumber remove it if
Yeah.
they will. If not, I can get you an abatement company that'll come by, remove it, and then, wrap it and haul it away to a waste
Yeah.
dump. How much is that? I don't know, $500-600.
Yeah.
Abatement can be expensive, just so you know. If you have asbestos in your home and you're purchasing a home, you should be heads up and get it tested. Again, the 50s through the 80s, mid 80s, late 80s, they stopped using asbestos in the 90s. But you should be really cognizant of those things. Mold, asbestos, also lead. Lead appears in flooring, ceramic flooring. Lead appears in countertops. Lead appears in surrounds in the tile in bathrooms. Lead also is in cast iron bathtubs, those beautiful ones that you see sometimes in homes, in expensive homes from the 50s and 60s. They use a ton of lead to get it to make it shiny. And
Yeah.
a lot of times we get a call, sometimes once or twice a week, from the health department because we're on
Yeah.
their list. And a baby has lead poisoning, and that's because they're taking their child and bathing them, and the child ingests some water, and they get extreme lead poisoning, and the hospital has to call the health department, and then they call us to go out and test. And so be cognizant of these old tubs have a lot of lead. But lead also mostly is in paint, in the encasements around doors and windows. And that's why if any of your realtors out there are renting out homes, they're required by the state of California to give them a lead safety brochure and make the tenant understand that there could be lead on the premises. And if you have a small child, make sure they're not teething on any of the encasements around doors and windows. That can give them lead poisoning. So these are the things that realtors should be really cognizant of when they're walking through a home, and recommending, especially to the buyer's agent, they should be recommending these tests to have done. Most of the time, unfortunately, it's mold, and they don't think about the future of if they're going to tear down any walls, but they should be looking at lead and asbestos too. If they're going to rehab a bathroom, you're going to be looking at lead, especially with all the tile and
Yeah.
and paint that may have been used over the years. And asbestos, if you're looking at maybe removing walls or adding on. Also, asbestos appears in stucco in the exterior of a home. So let's say you're going to restucco the home, or let's say you're going to do you're going to go to Murray Lampert and get a room addition. Well, the stucco on the exterior a lot of times has less than 1% asbestos. In the state of California, any amount of asbestos that's in building materials has to be abated. It's the law. So, the homeowners have to go into it, especially with the buyer's agent, looking at the
Yeah.
future. Am I going to do it? It's a 1,200 square foot home. Am I going to expand it? Well, maybe if you're young family, yeah, in the future you may expand it. So those are things agents should be looking at testing before they buy the home. So at least the homeowner knows. We can get a bid to say, okay, if you want to get rid of the asbestos in these 3 walls to do a room addition, before they even close escrow, they're going to have a price from an abatement company, and at least they're going to know it's going to cost $12,000 or so. At least they're going to have that in their mind, so they know the overhead, instead of being shocked when they go to put on a room addition or remove walls or change things around, expand the kitchen, whatever they want to do. And then they say, Bruce, come out and test. So I'll go out and test. But the problem is it's positive, and now they got to deal with an abatement company, which is a specialized contractor that just removes asbestos and lead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And specialized, they got to set up a special containment. They have to wear spacesuits, negative air, all these things have
Yeah,
to
just
be.
a long process.
It's a long, expensive process.
Yeah.
And, they got to give a 10-day notification to Air Pollution Control District, which is the enforcement arm of the ARB in Sacramento Air Resources Board. And a lot of times, if you want to do construction, you got to think of this stuff ahead of time, because it adds a lot of time, like you said, to the timeline.
Yeah.
And, I get people that get floods and fires every day of the week, 50 times, we're out there with service calls every day with 12, inspectors. And, then they decide, then they only know then they have asbestos. Oh my God, this flood's going to cost me a fortune. Many people right now don't want to file claims, as you know. Most insurance companies, you get a claim, they're either going to cancel you or they're going to double it next year. And so people are afraid to file claims. So, when they're first purchasing the house, they should know whether there's asbestos or lead, and, whether they can do it themselves and hire a restoration company that'll come in a little cheaper and do it without filing a claim. And as you know, there's no more $500 or $1,000 deductibles. They're all $5,000 now.
Yeah.
So, the first $5,000, you got to look at paying and then say, wow, can I get it for $5,000 or less? Well, now my insurance, I don't have to file a claim. So we see that trend. We do over 1,000 jobs a month, well over. So we're seeing the trend of less insurance claims and more.
Really?
Yeah, way less insurance claims. I'm giving you a heads up right now. As realtors, you live on a canyon. California Fair Plan. You sell a house on the canyon, super expensive. I mean, god awful rates. I've seen them. I've actually seen policies that have come in Bayho just in a fire, and it wasn't the fire that was a problem. The bigger problem was that it was on the canyon in Bayho, and their rates were not looked at for 20 years. Now all of a sudden they have a claim with a huge fire, and now they get insurance again, and it's literally, instead of $1,900 a month, it's literally like $50,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then the carrier won't write them anymore for the house. So they have only, before they go off the cliff, they only have one way out to pay the mortgage and make sure the mortgage isn't called on it. And that's California Fair Plan, which does not give you a lot of coverage and is super expensive and has like a $50,000 deductible.
Yeah.
It doesn't cover things like, the fireplaces and stuff. So it's a crazy plan. So, homeowners, they have to be aware of what's in their house, what lurks in the house. So the realtor should do their due diligence and make sure, and even suggest, the buyer's agent, hey, look, maybe we should get an insurance quote in stone before we close escrow.
Yeah.
Let's line it up ahead of time and see, let's get an agent out here to give us a bid before we even close escrow, because houses I see in Tierra Santa, you can't write them anymore. I mean, no comment. Farmers, State Farm, Liberty Mutual, USAA, Safeco, all the brands you've heard write your whole life. They're not
Mm.
going to write in Tierra Santa anymore.
Yeah.
They're not going to write in Scripps Ranch anymore. You're going to have to go out of the system and pay 5, 10 times as much to get somebody out of the state of California to write the policy for you. So I
Wow.
think insurance agents have to be real cognizant of that, just like they are of asbestos, lead, mold, and other things lurking in the home. I think I have to bring up insurance because I've only seen this the last 3, 4 years. And if you want to buy a condo, forget it. Nobody's writing HO6 and HO5 policies. Nobody in the state of California. So I just bought a place in Laguna Beach, and
Okay.
always my dream to be able to spend weekends up there with my family. And I'm an old guy, so I could afford it. I cashed it out. But the fact of the matter is couldn't get insurance, and the HOA before I could close escrow said, "Oh, it's in the HOA docs. You have to have insurance." I'm like, I pay cash. Doesn't matter. It's in the CC&Rs.
Wow.
So I went out of the system, and I don't even want to tell you what I paid for. It's in the gated community. It has fire sprinklers.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It was just built a few years ago. Guess what? Carrier didn't care.
Yeah.
No carriers care. We're not writing condo policies. So these are things I really want the insurance agent that I see trends in the industry with testing for asbestos, lead, mold, bacteria. I see these trends coming. And so you're asking me, what should the agents be looking
You'd be
for?
looking for.
Not only, like you say, do the great inspection for asbestos, lead, and mold, and think about it, what they're going to tell the buyers, but make sure that they also tell the buyers, look at insurance also. It could be one pitfall, because I want them to do their due diligence so they close escrow and go to the next one. I don't want you guys like waiting around for anything. That's why I try to offer services so fast.
Yeah.
So that second day contingency is ready to close. I've had it for 17 days and I got to close it now, but I forgot they have a mold problem. Let's just get it done, taken
Yeah.
care of, a scope. We'll write it out and then I'll give you people, or they can go to their own people, get a price. Let's close escrow. Let's go.
Yeah.
To this.
Okay.
So that's what I try to do. I try to be
Yeah.
an answer for you guys. So, those are the things really that agents have to be really careful, because also agents can say, and I hear it all the time on TV, on the do-it-yourself network and the home network, and they're always like, oh, the agent says, oh yeah, they make suggestions, and I know you can't really do it. Oh, to remove all this acoustical popcorn ceiling is only going to be like $1,000. Well, in the state of California, it's going to be like $10,000. So it's important that the agents don't really predict on what prices are, especially when it comes to abatement, asbestos and lead abatement. Very expensive in the state of California. They do it right. They don't want anybody to die of it. So, like you said, it's a long process, tedious process, expensive process.
Yeah.
But just so that the agents know. And a lot of times I've actually seen, I know this sounds stunning, but I've seen where sellers will give a credit.
Yeah.
They always do for mold. Most of the time they'll give in. They'll either say, Bruce, send me, the seller's agent will say, Bruce, send me the restoration companies you think are fantastic, or a mold abatement company. Send me that scope and that we'll take care of it. We'll figure it out. Either they'll make a payment, an escrow, or they'll do it themselves.
Yeah.
And occasionally, even with asbestos, they'll give a credit. So, it's something that to educate the agents on and the brokers on, so that they go in and understand exactly what they're dealing with. And the more education I can give you guys, the easier it is to close escrow and go to the next one. And there's no surprises.
Yeah, that's great, because we have a lot of new agents that come in here with us, and then all over San Diego. There's agents everywhere, and especially new ones. They're all like, they don't know what to do once they walk into a home, do their inspection. So it's
I need them to watch
this.
Yeah, so we can educate them, because I see new agents coming in all the time. We deal with thousands of real estate agents, thousands of agents and brokers. Every day we're getting calls. Sometimes up to maybe 10 of our jobs a day are agents. And so it's really important that they educate themselves, because a lot of new agents, they get on the phone and they're like, huh? And I'm like, yeah, this is expensive. And they're like, oh, I didn't know. Nobody ever told me.
Yeah.
So I think, for people to be educated, I'm always here to educate them, because the fact of the matter is it broadsides them. And then
Yeah.
they're all like, well, what am I going to tell the buyer?
Yeah.
How are we going to sell this place? And then I give them suggestions. You know, I don't want it to stop closing escrow. Let's close escrow. Let's get it done. But maybe something can be done
Oh,
quickly,
yeah.
in the contingency period. But most of the time, I'm actually tipped off by bad situations by the inspectors. The CREA guys will call me and say, hey, can you help this couple out? They're a young couple, they're buying, and what can we do? On the inspection, I saw mold, and what can we do to get over this hump? I think, hey, yeah, thanks, Ron, and I'll call them right up, and, we'll get it done, and they'll still close escrow. So nothing's insurmountable, just so you know that. It's just all their stomach for what it's going to cost to get it done. And there's only one way to do it. You got to do it the right way.
Yeah.
So if you do a mold job, have us for $395. Come in, inspect. We represent the homeowner. If it's a buyer, we represent the buyer. We're a third-party testing company. So we come in and we do a mold clearance. We do visual, we do air cell samples, and then they're going to get a written report that everything is fine, there's no more mold present. So they have that peace of mind, because especially people with asthma, like I said, and have medical, issues. Sometimes you and we can walk into a house and it's like, I have no reaction at all. The
Yeah.
people in there literally on their hands and knees dying because, when you walk into a house and you smell, it's musty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, musty? When you were a teenager and you're playing sports and you took all your clothes and you threw them in the hamper, right? And your mom didn't get to wash them for like a week.
Yeah.
That's musty. And when you walk in and you smell musty, you don't see any mold, but it's musty. It's usually behind the wall. It's growing. And usually, in order to have mold 100% of the time, to get mold, it has to be water source. You got a leak in the ceiling. You got a leak, from a pipe, or you got the roof, maintenance, and they didn't maintain the roof and they're on 35 years on the roof and it's leaking into the studs, into the wall encasements. And so what happens is when it's in there, the mold doesn't always show on the outside of the drywall. It's on the inside. And people are having bad reactions because the spores are microscopic and they pour out of the electrical outlets and light switch covers. So people get really sensitive. And I've seen people just react super bad, where they'll go to the doctor and it like controls their life. So, and I get it from tenants all day long, 20 calls, sometimes 50. I mean, I get so many calls from tenants, but I don't test for tenants. I only test for landlords, property management companies, homeowners. Tenants are no go for me because I don't want to sit in the court for a week in the hallway where they argue about mold and pots and pans. I don't get paid. Right? I don't get paid. You don't get paid to go to court. So these are things I want to, tell the new agents and the existing agents too, that let's do it so you're never going to sit in court. Let's do it the right way. Let's inspect it. If you think something's wrong, it's not expensive to test it. And like I say, I own my own laboratory. We use empirical evidence. My daughter heads up my laboratory. She graduated UCSD with honors in physics and biology. So when she and her crew test something, it's empirical evidence.
Perfect.
If there's no mold, I'm going to tell the agent, hey, there's no mold. It's perfect. It's fine. Purchase the house. I know you're being careful, but there's nothing there. Because I go by empirical evidence. If there's nothing there, I'm going to tell them, hey, there's nothing there. Well, I still feel sick. Well, maybe you want to do particulates. Maybe, particulates is bug parts, pet dander, all kinds of different dusts caused by construction material, formaldehydes from construction material. Pregnant women call me all the time. Oh, I just had carpeting installed with glue, or I just had the houses painted. What do? Get out of the house until it off gases for like 3 or 4 days. If you're pregnant, get out. Go stay at your mom and dad's. Go stay somewhere else, but don't stay in there. Common person, it's not going to kill you, but if you're pregnant, can't be careful enough. And no mask is going to really pull out the formaldehydes. I mean, unless you wear a full face respirator like my techs do. But no pregnant woman, they're not going to go through that. And I don't want them to go through that. But I always tell them, get the hell, because I'm an environmental consultant. And things we do today We're going to find out sooner or later tomorrow that they're cancer causing.
Yeah.
50% of the people in the United States either have cancer, have contracted cancer, die of cancer, or get cured of cancer. 50-50. So it's a massive amount. So things we're using today, oh, it's no problem. Yeah, use Roundup. Roundup's great. It gets rid of weeds until they did a $1 billion settlement with, a guy that died from Roundup. Now they know it causes lymph node cancer. So when you're spraying Roundup, be real careful to wear a full face regulator. Something that's, not going to get you that ingredient that's going to cause cancer. So, years ago, people had fires in their homes in plastic burn. Plastic is dioxin's second most lethal element in the world behind radiation. It was used in the Vietnam War as Agent Orange. So when plastics burn in your house, they stay there embedded in the insulation, in the building materials, and there's a good chance you're going to get cancer. So we tell people when you have a fire, we implore them, let us do a study. Let us tell you what your exposure is, your personal exposure limits. And just so you know, personal exposure limits for dioxin is 0 in the United States. And the World Health Organization also, it's 0. So you got to be careful on fires. So if somebody owns a house and they're selling it and there's been a fire and you see charred, 2x4s in the rafters and stuff, that agent has to be cognizant of, hey, maybe we should get this checked out. Maybe, let's look at this a little closer before, we close escrow. So, these are all the things that, I've given you a whole rundown on all the things they should be looking for.
And how long does your inspection usually last? Like, let's say you get called.
So that's a great question. So if we're doing asbestos testing, an hour, mold testing, an hour, lead, let's say they want the exterior because they think the exterior it's all between an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes less, but most of the time it's between a 1 and a 2 hour time slot.
Okay.
We give it a 2 hour time slot, but a lot of times if we're going in to test a bathroom and they want asbestos testing, 5 samples, we're out of there 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and we'll get the results. Look, I can get results in 1 hour.
Yeah. Okay.
Lead is immediate. We use XRF X-ray lead guns. They're super expensive. I have 10 of them, and you get results on site. No more sending it to a lab and you point.
Do you just put the gun to the wall?
What's that? Anywhere, a wall, a tub, tile, flooring, all that. Point and shoot. You get immediate results on site. We can tell you on site. You have lead here. You don't have lead here. You have lead here. Exterior of the house has lead paint. So, it's immediate. Asbestos, I can do it. Most people opt for 3 hours at $29 a sample, so they'll know in 3 hours. Some people, it's an emergency. It's a restoration company. They're trying to get it out immediately and start the job, 1 hour. But most people opt for 3 hours. $25 a sample is 24 hours.
Okay.
So it's between 3 hours and 24 hours. In real estate, they're more towards 3 hours because you guys want the stuff done yesterday. I've never had a real estate agent go, yeah, I got a house in escrow. Can you come next week? Never hear that, bro. Not from a real estate agent. They're like, get there today. Can you be there in an hour? Can you get the results back yesterday? Because they want to close, and I get it. We get it.
Yeah.
My 8 girls in the office are trained. They get that. The dispatchers, everybody's on board with real estate agents. Because that's how you guys get paid. You want to close it as fast as you can.
Yeah.
We're never going to tell you 1 week, or we're going to get there.
That's great. And then also, now let's think about our homeowners out there. What are some preventions that they can,
so
work on to get their house full of mold or?
Exactly. So when they ever smell musty or they see mold, mold's only going to get worse. It's not going to cure itself. Mm-hmm. It's like, should I go to the doctor? You're a dude, and no dudes go to the doctor immediately. Yeah. We're like, yeah, my back is really bad, but if I wait a month, I'm sure it'll go away. No, it'll probably freaking get worse because you never got muscle relaxants.
Yeah.
And it was a sports injury or something, and you're dying. And so after 4 days, I don't know, you get a prostate infection. You want to wait? wait. If you wait, you're going to be tearing the plumbing out of your bathroom. Or you can go to the doctor and get some antibiotics,
Yeah.
man or woman, and get cured right away. Same thing with mold. Doesn't get better. Doesn't heal itself. It just gets worse and incrementally costs you, just crazy amounts of money as it spreads. So what I would like to tell homeowners is if you see mold, get it tested, get a scope of work we'll give you, and get it taken care of immediately. Because when mold first starts, it might be a $500, $750 job. But if you let it go, it might be 7,500, 10, 20,000.
Wow.
I've had jobs where people let it go for years in the whole house because there were roof leaks and they didn't do the roof maintenance. Remember, you can call an insurance company and say there was a big rainstorm. Oh my God, and the roof leaked. The insurance company goes, it's not our responsibility to maintain your roof. You're not getting any money to do anything. So they'll just totally reject you. So it's really important to, maintain your roof as a homeowner because insurance companies don't pay out on maintenance issues. They just don't. And so you're going to be doing that roof yourself. And that's going to be very expensive. The only time they ever cover a roof is from wind damage and that pulls up shingles. Then insurance will cover it. So, homeowners have to be real careful about that. Anytime they have water leaks, they have to be really careful. If you have wood floors, it's only 30 minutes exposure. And then the wood floors, they get water in them, they get moisture in them, and they start to cup and pull up. So people that have expensive wood floors, you only got 30 minutes to get the water up. Then the floor has to come out. Because the floor will look fine for a while, a day or two, but as the moisture works its way into the lumber and it gets above 12% humidity, the lumber will actually start to cup and deform and start to pull up. Well, even if they hammered it in or glued it in, it'll still start to raise up. So you got to be really cognizant of that. That's why in my house, I used LVP 8 years ago. I've had 2 floods. I still have the same LVP with the antimicrobial on the back. Perfect. My house looks perfect. My house looks like the LVP was just laid last year, 5 minutes ago. I mean, it never scratched. I dropped a big knife on it that went point down first. Didn't chip it. I had to take a, magnifying glass. Wow, how could it not chip the LVP? So I tell people, really, when you're looking for great flooring, carpet, people aren't using much carpet anymore. Mostly, wood products or LVP or bamboo or something like that. I can tell you my LVP after 8 years looks brand new. And all my wife does is use a Swifter on it.
Yeah,
Oh, she does. She doesn't want it. And it looks perfect. And every square inch of the house was done in LVP. Best investment I ever did. It was expensive. It wasn't cheap. But I had a friend do it, and the cost on it was like $5 a square foot because that's uncommon. Because I refer them out on all my flooring jobs. And people, hey, I need flooring. And this guy hooked me up, and he said, "Look, I'll do it installed, Tarkett, the best on the market, $5 a square foot installed." Well, yesterday, when can he come over? Because I want it done right now. So those are things homeowners have to be cognizant of. They have to be cognizant of exterior. Really important. When you go to a home in Southern California, I want to see an inch of the foundation showing. If you don't have an inch of the foundation showing and you have soil up against the stucco or the wood of your house, you're asking for big problems. Because what happens is, you have weep screeds at the bottom of those walls, exterior walls. And so in the middle of the night, when you get 60% or above humidity, you get all that water and dew that's inside the walls. So the only way it can drip out of those weep screeds or the bottom screens of the walls is to drip out into the soil. So you need a solid inch. So the foundation, you should see at least an inch. Also, there's a vine that grows. It'll tear down a house in like 4 months. It's called Poria. Look it up on the internet. Poria. We get a Poria job every 2 weeks. And what happens, it doesn't matter what part of town. Sometimes they're in Hillcrest. I've gotten a lot lately in Solana Beach and Carlsbad. It's a vine that grows in the in Asian Pacific countries, and it lives in the topsoil. So what Home Depot and Lowe's do, you get topsoil, right? And you spread it around your house. But if you spread the topsoil up against your home, this vine crosses into the wood of your home, and it sucks moisture from the soil, gallons a day, and it digests all the wood in your house. I saw a house that was so bad in Hillcrest and also one in Coronado, they had to totally tear down the whole house.
Oh wow.
Tear down the whole house. The whole house was caving in. So just so you know, Poria is a vine that eats wood 6 inches a day. 6 inches a day. You can't mess
Oh, wow.
with it. So that's another thing. So you got to be cognizant if you're a homeowner. Keep your eyes open. If you see, vines and stuff growing up into between the foundation and the wood framing, you got to be really careful of that. Those are things. So anytime you look at your soil on the outside of your home where plants are, make sure you don't plant plants too close to your home, obviously, for obvious reasons. And
Mhm.
make sure you have an inch showing, and make sure the water wicks away from your house when it rains or when you're watering, because the soil should slope away from your house. It should never be equal to your house. It should always wick away. So, slightly wick away, a half inch, so that water doesn't collect at the base of your home. You're asking for problems. Then, you got mold problems, and why do I have mold, and why do I have decaying lumber, and you don't notice it, and you just let it go for years.
Yeah,
Those are
especially now with all the rain stuff
all
and
the rains. And
yeah,
it really wasn't an issue for many, many years. I was born here in San Diego,
yeah,
Mesa. And so we didn't have that much rain all the time. But the last 2 years, we have over 20 inches of rain. So it makes really bad issues for homeowners when it didn't normally, because we'd get 6, 10 inches of rain, not a lot of rain. But now be really cognizant of your roof. Get the repairs done in your roof that needs to be. I got a guy called Roof Max.
mhm,
Unbelievable product for agents. Roof Max. They come out, it's a few $1,000s. They spray on an emollient that is you can edible, and it gets you 5 more years out of your roof. 5 more years. It's like unbelievable. It's called Roof Max. ROFMA. I never knew it existed. But I test for so many HOAs. I met this guy on the roof one time. He's like, "Yeah, I'm from Roof Max. I own the franchise of Roof Max." What the hell do you do? He goes, "I get 5 more years out of any shingled roof. Has to be a shingled roof." He goes, "It can't be like, a flat roof, and it can't be like, ceramic tile
yeah,
roof." But most of the roofs, the houses you're selling, they're tile. I
yeah,
mean, they're, shingle, and
yeah,
he guarantees it. He gives you a warranty for 5 more years, no matter how bad the roof is, as long as it's not like totally
yeah,
decayed. So let's say it's a 30, 40-year-old roof. So I had him come out and do my roof. I'm
mhm,
like, wow, my roof was only 20 years old, but he goes, "If you do this every 5 years, you're probably going to get 50 years out of your roof." I'm like,
yeah,
and my house is like, I'm in Bayho, it's like 1,500 square feet, a couple grand. But I mean, it's the best insurance policy every 5 years you could ever do. So your best insurance policy as a homeowner is do the maintenance. Don't
yeah,
make it deferred maintenance like condo complexes do. No, we
yeah,
don't have money. We'll do it next year. Then
yeah,
you're buying a condo in a place that's falling apart.
yeah,
So you got to look at the reserves. Look at down the road. Did they pay? Do they have reserves? Did they, because they need a new roof? Is is the roads throughout the condo that have holes, and is it going to need pavement? Are you going to have to get pavement? Are you going to have reserves for a repipe? These things, real estate agents and homeowners have to be really cognizant when they're buying, because you get into a condo, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but here's a $58,000 one-time assessment." Huh? 58? Yeah, we got to do a repipe in every unit plus
yeah,
wow. And I see this all the time because I deal with it. I deal with, testing, and I hear homeowners talk to me all the time, and it's horrifying. And I'm like, $58,000? Yeah, the decks are falling. There's a new law from
yeah,
that. The people, all those 40 people that most of them died in LA when that deck fell, SB 326. And so now by December 31st, you have to have all your decks in a condo complex inspected. They may have 400 decks. Just let your mind wander how much it costs to tear out those decks and put
Yeah.
in. I mean, millions and
Oh yeah.
millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Millions and millions. So you got to be cognizant of that, because if you're on the ground floor and you don't have a deck, a wood deck sticking out, Still got to pay. It's in the CC&Rs. You got to pay your prorated share whether you have a deck or not. So, homeowners got to be really careful. The most thing I can say is after doing over 125,000 surveys is just do the maintenance on the home. Don't think you're saving money by not doing the maintenance. If something needs to be done, there's a pipe leak. Oh, it's a pin leak. I'll address it immediately, because then you're going to could have tens of thousands of dollars in mold repairs. Address any water issue, address any roof issue, address exterior and painting issues, stucco and wood, because down the line it's going to get so much more expensive if it starts to bubble. The paint on the outside of the house. Now there's water behind there because it's bubbling. It's eating away and rotting the wood. Not necessarily mold. It's just wood rot. Super expensive to repair.
Yeah.
It just so for a homeowner, just don't have deferred maintenance. I know it's tough. It's tough for me and you and everybody that owns homes, but we just it's got to be a cost we have to bear. And we got to be looking at the exterior of the homes and the interior and say, hey, what can I do? Water heater, it's a 10-year warranty. It's on its 14th year. Probably any day the bottom's going to fall out, rusted, because we have the hardest water in the nation, over 15 grains. Comes all the way down the Colorado River. And you've got hard water like incredible in San Diego, the worst in the whole United States. And so a water heater, if it's on its 14th year, if you don't want to flood, it's probably a good idea, change it out. Just think about changing it out, because it's going to burst at any time. And when it bursts, it's going to flood your home. And water is going to go into that. And if you're at work, guess what's going to happen? There's no check valve. It's just going to continue pouring full blast water into that water heater where the bottom dropped out. It's going to flood your garage, your whole house. Depends. If it's outside, you can have a pass. It'll just flood to the grass. But if it's inside, it's going to be I see major disasters with water heaters all the time. They're calling me flood. Oh my God, I need asbestos testing. My whole house flooded. The water heater, it dropped out. I didn't even have a leak. That's the weird thing. They always tell me I had no leak. It just dropped out. So, the bottom of it just rusted out. So, it's just so important. Just, you see that water heater and it's a 10-year warranty. Don't say, hey, I can get 20 years out of it. It's cheaper, because you'll end up paying for a massive flood. And then you got to go to your insurance company. They're going to go, oh, yeah, you can file a claim. That $1,900 a year turns to $25,000 a year because you had a flood. And it just doesn't make sense. Insurance companies, they don't want to pay out. They're not indebted to you. They don't care that you're a client. They're only indebted to the stockholders of the company. So they're going to look everything they can with a fine-tooth comb and a magnifying glass to reject your claim.
Yeah.
They can do it, and they read, make sure when you get an insurance policy, you read the policy, because there's exemptions galore in the policy.
Yeah.
Just know they're exempting lead and asbestos. It's an exemption. They're exempting, fireplaces, certain construction. They've been doing it in Southern California the last 10 years. You guys know wildfires are running rampant.
Oh, yeah.
Again, not to, kick a dead horse, because I am, but if you live on a canyon or near a canyon, and if that's a single family home or a condo, forget it. It's going to be, just know what you're getting into before you purchase, or know what you're getting into, even if you're currently a homeowner and you live on a canyon, know that insurance company, if they haven't contacted you, give them time. They're going to contact you because you're in a high risk area. Mm-hmm. And I'm in a high risk area, and I live 3 blocks away from they already raised mine. So I live 3 blocks away from a canyon. Yeah. And, they already raised it. They said, you're in a high. I go, like, I'm 3 blocks away. I took from the canyon. I'm far away. Nope. You're in a fire area. You're like, this is your new insurance. Oh my God, I'm going to call Wawanesa. This is outrageous. I hear they're cheap. They're like, I'm sorry, you're in the fire area. Yeah. Oh, my last chance. I thought I could get cheaper insurance. So it's coming. Tierra Santa, like I said, Strip Ranch, parts of Del Mar. You guys know that. Yeah. Parts of Del Mar.
We just got an office down in Del Mar. So
in Del Mar, yeah. I just had a friend buy this $5 million beautiful house. They didn't check. And then they realized, oh my God, I'm glad the guy's a doctor and makes big money because his insurance payments are going to be big money because he's right over the canyon, and it's like, gotta check those things. And I think the agent, especially the buyer's agents, should play a bigger role in making sure that they're representing that homeowner in every facet and making sure they dot the I's and cross the T's.
Yeah.
Because in this day and age, there's so many pitfalls with home ownership. Before we didn't have wildfires all these years ago. We did, but they weren't as big. And I'm not going to get into political global warming. I'm not going to get involved in that. I'm just telling you that these fires are more widespread and they're happening everywhere. Don't think they're happening in the desert or in Northern California. I've been doing this a long time. I went through the 2003 fires in Rancho Bernardo and Forest Ranch, 2007 fires, Rancho Santa Fe and all those outlying areas, Carlsbad fires, and the devastation. It's heartbreaking when I have to go to somebody's house and they have their head down and their hands are covering their face. And, they lost everything pretty much, and it's like, it's horrible. So make sure you defend your house. Close the eaves. Don't have opened eaves. That's another thing that insurance, agents should be looking at. Is it an old house? Does it have open eaves so that embers can fly right in there and burn down the house? Agents need to be looking at that too, because it just burns down houses. Even though, like my insurance company said, well, you're not on the canyon, but you're still in a high. Those eaves that are open, fire can come up into embers from 20 miles away, burn down your house. So you guys got to be really cognizant. I just think in agents, really good agents are your best defense about making any mistakes. A really good agent is going to do an inspection on that house, a pre-inspection, and keep everybody, the seller and the buyer, informed on what they found. And then have a great inspection company write a report. And if in that report it says you have mold, asbestos, or lead, call me. I'm not going to come out until you sign a DocuSign like you guys do, and it's going to say the exact price I'm charging.
Yeah.
This is going to be, $395 or $650 or whatever it is. You're going to sign that. You're totally transparent. But we're going to go out there and use empirical evidence to find out what that homeowner needs to know, whether it's the buyer or the seller. I deal with both. Because there's a lot of sellers that are fantastic. They're like, I want the house perfect, Bruce. So go through the house, check for asbestos and lead and mold. I want a clearance on it. If there's anything wrong, I want to do it before I put it up for sale. It's not uncommon anymore. It just isn't. It used to be very uncommon, but now there are a lot of great sellers out there that want to make sure everything's perfect. They're going to get prime price, but they're going to make sure everything's perfect. And I don't care whether the house is on the top of Mount Soledad or in Otay Mesa, wherever it's at. You got the same issues. You just do. You always have those same damn issues going at you, no matter where the house is at. No matter, I don't care if the house was built yesterday, it can still get mold, right? It might not have asbestos and lead, but it can still get mold.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think $500 can save you from something big.
It gives you peace of mind. Yeah, for later, it gives you peace of mind.
Yeah.
I can't tell you whether your plumbing is going to have a pinhole leak and they use type C plumbing instead of type L, and it's not the thick stuff. And I can't predict that, but I can tell you at this point in time, in this slice in time, that house is in perfect condition. There's no mold, there's no asbestos, no lead. It's a good purchase, and I'll tell people, but sometimes I'll say, I had a guy that sued me in Rancho Santa Fe, $12 million house. The seller sued me because I walked in for the buyer and I said, this house is not inhabitable.
Wow.
I go, at this time, you need to jump out of escrow and get a mold remediation. And of course, the owner came after me. Said, no, this is slander, blah, blah, blah. Went to court. He lost. He had to pay my fees, which weren't cheap because I went to the best lawyer in town. I'm not stupid. And so, sometimes you just have to deal with it. You just have to deal with it. No, I don't like going to court. But the empirical evidence shows there's mold all over. And I got to tell the buyer there's mold all over because that's who, the seller doesn't even get a copy of the report. My reports only go to the payee. So I do a job for an agent, it just goes to that agent. That
Awesome.
agent now has the ammunition to either say yay or nay.
Yeah.
What needs to be done? Nothing needs to be done. They don't have to share it ever with the seller. It's their, it's their, they own that report, and it goes on their desk, on the buyer's agent's desk and the buyer, and they make an informed decision. But I always believe that you should do as much work as you need to be totally informed of what's going on in that home, because I don't want them buying the home and then you get a lawsuit. What do you have? Up to 2 years, right, to go back? Those lawsuits almost never work. My brother's an attorney. He goes, almost never work. He goes, yeah, you can go back and try to sue, but buyer beware. When you sign your name to the escrow, you're kind of giving an okay that you want the home and you've done your due diligence on the home.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the law is, you got 24 months to go back. Okay, I've seen that a lot. I've seen a lot of people getting paid out by the seller. So, buyer beware. Make sure the due diligence is done.
Okay. So, I mean, well, now that we're wrapping this up, do you have any last things you want to say to our people that when we put this up in YouTube and all our social medias before
No, not really. You've been educated. You kind of know. Again, I answer my phone. If you could put up my information down below, I answer the phone pretty much every day, 7 days a week.
Okay.
16 hours a day, sometimes more. I don't want any stupid mistakes, right? Ask me. You guys aren't an environmental consultant. You don't own a laboratory. I get it. It's not your expertise, and it never will be your expertise. When I need to buy or sell a home, I go to a licensed real estate agent or a broker because it's their expertise. I don't know how to do it. I'd get screwed, So I mean, the fact of the matter is ask the question. Don't make the stupid. Don't be afraid to call me and ask. It doesn't cost a dime. I'll stay on the phone for you 5 minutes, 15 minutes, however long it takes to make sure you understand what you're getting into or what the remedy is. So that's what I want to tell the people on the internet. It's the remedy that you're looking for. Go to an environmental consultant. Don't go to me. There's like 20 of us in town. Go to somebody else. But at least ask the question. Try to talk to the owner of the company. Try to talk to the person that has the most expertise and has seen everything. Every day I think I've seen everything, but it's not true. I see stuff. I'm like, huh? I don't get it. Why didn't you ask the question? So, my words of wisdom are, call me if you need me. I'll be able to answer the question usually in 5 minutes and educate you. But don't make that stupid mistake. Don't just assume it's a good idea. Not with real estate. It's probably going to be the best, biggest, greatest investment you'll ever do is owning a condo or a home, right? I mean, it's the number one thing young families, no matter what age you are, you could do to gain wealth or to pass it down through generations. And so be careful when you do it. Do the right thing and do your due diligence. That's my mantra.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Bruce. So for everyone else that watches this on YouTube later on or was on the live, hit a thumbs up, and glad to have you again, Bruce. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully I didn't drone on too long.
No, it was perfect.
Okay, bro. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
You too.
See ya. Bye-bye.